So this morgue is pretty cool because even though maybe some of the human atrocities didn't come true as much as we wanted in this map, at least once we get to the morgue, we see I guess what we could call a body count type of thing. You know, we see like all these people, all these bodies, all these dead people covered up with the drapes or whatever you call that. So I think it works really well, and that's where you really start understanding. Oh my God! Like these people were literally cannon fodder, I guess you could say.
They were killed for the sake of
They were
science.
killed for the sake of science. They were guinea pigs, exactly.
So at this point, we're about to create the distraction.
Infamous distraction.
Distraction to get access to the restricted area of Omega Ranch. And I remember that even though what we ended up in the game sounds very simple, it was really, really hard to get there because getting the proper feedback to the player that the scientists were helping you into getting into the restricted zone.
Yeah, because we really wanted to bring that sense that Johnson was working as a team with people, but they were spread out all over the compound, and they were supposed to create things that are supposed to set off alarms, and without like some major explosion, it was really hard to kind of figure out how do we kind of coordinate all that.
And if I remember well, with Etienne, we were talking about an explosion with seeing a wall being destroyed or something
Yes, but that was very complicated because all of the heart had to be redone for after the distraction.
Yeah, that's why we didn't do it, because we
Yes.
didn't have the time with the art. Yes,
I remember that. Yeah, it would have been like making two maps almost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
yeah, and in the end, like the result is not too bad, but
Yeah.
it's slightly too subtle.
Yeah,
to,
one of the big challenge with the scene was actually that the distraction itself is made by the scientists, which are not located at the same place as the player. So for the player to understand,
Access granted.
Jensen, 4 GPLs just popped up, including yours. Koss, Colvin, Faraday. I'm missing one. Dr. Reed's.
I know. Keep tracking them. And I need you to try something else.
Try something? What?
Simulate feedback along that route. Make it strong enough to vibrate their implants. They have to feel it.
A signal, eh? Not bad, Jensen. I'm sending it now.
So at this point, we're about to create the distraction.
The
To
infamous
distraction to get access to the restricted area of Omega Ranch. And I remember that even though what we ended up in the game sounds very simple, it was really, really hard to get there, because getting the proper feedback to the player that the scientists were helping you into getting into the restricted zone.
Yeah, because we really wanted to bring that sense that Johnson was working as a team with people, but they were spread out all over the compound, and they were supposed to create things that are supposed to set off alarms, and without like some major explosion, it was really hard to kind of figure out how do we kind of coordinate all that.
And if I remember well, with Etienne, we were talking about an explosion with seeing a wall being destroyed or something
yes, but that was very complicated because all of the heart had to be redone for after the distraction.
Yeah, that's why we didn't do it, because we
Yes.
didn't have the time with the art. Yes,
I remember that. Yeah, it would have been like making two maps almost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
yeah, and in the end, like the result is not too bad, but
Yeah.
it's slightly too subtle.
Yeah,
to,
one of the
yeah.
one of the big challenge with the scene was actually that the distraction itself is made by the scientists, which are not located at the same place as the player. So for the player to understand something that is not happening in his field of view, that was really hard. So
Yeah, but in the end, hopefully, the players got it.
Yep.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Here is the introduction to the Namir boss fight. Actually, we had to manage to get two versions working because depending in Hengsha 2 if you went for the chip recall or not, whether you lose your augmentations or you keep them for the battle. And actually, the idea of losing all our augmentations for that boss fight was quite debated in the team. Like, it was a bold move.
It was
to
a
go
very
to.
bold move to basically strip the player from at least half of his experience in the game and force him to be clever about the weapons and just run around as much as he could to survive, whether to just use a cloak or any augmentations he's accumulated over the playthrough.
And also for you, as you were balancing the experience, the gameplay, it was tough because you had to make it like interesting if you have your augmentations, but if you don't have augmentations, it still need to be playable.
Yeah, well, it was always we knew the idea of the choice and consequence was always there, that if you don't have your augmentations, it was part of the player's choice. I mean, whether he knew it or not, it was still a discussion we had that if he had the augmentations, the combat would be much easier, and that's the point of augmentations. Whereas if you go with the non-augmentation, the challenge is there that you have to sort of survive as a bare human being. And that's pretty much what happens depending on the choice you make.
like a blind man, you stumble on. Unaware of the cliff ahead. Finish it.
Not until you tell me where Megan is.
You've lost her, Jansen. Men like us, we never get back the things we love.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this amazing game that is Deus Ex Human Revolution.
If you're just joining us,
if you are just joining us, well, we want to say hi to each and every single one of you. If you've been here for about 40 hours, well, you know who we are. Okay, so this room is pretty interesting because the concept of this room with Namir being kind of like somebody who's got his skin ripped off and all the other statues and everything in it is one of the earliest ideas we've actually had in the project. It goes all the way back to like May or early June 2007. We had the exhibition here in Montreal from the human body thing.
Bodies.
What's the name of the artist we used to know back in the days? Anyway, I forgot about him, about his name, that is. But anyway, so we said, one of our concept artists, Thierry Baron Thierry, designed this guy that was fully augmented, and the augmentations looked like they were muscles, And we said, hey, this is pretty damn cool, let's keep it. Let's design an enemy that's its entire body is like that. It's fully mechanical. Only his head remains a human head. And then because of the exhibition in Montreal, we said, hey, what about he's actually kind of camouflaging himself within an exhibition just like that, and let's play with this. And this is one of the ideas that stayed the entire course of the development until where we actually had to produce this. So that's pretty cool.
That was one of the main challenge we had to actually. The first question was how to replace the statue with Namir and to mimic the animations and stuff.
Yeah.
And then what would happen with the statue, and does it come back after? Are there holograms? All these crazy things. So that was a bit of a challenge in that aspect.
An interesting little bit of fact: the statues, not Namir, but the other statues. But Namir also. I'll get back to this. They, we had their penises modeled on them, right?
Yeah.
And we had to take them out.
Yeah.
Because obviously we're not mature enough, people who play games and whatnot. When we see penises, we oh my god, we might go on a killing spree.
If we offend someone,
we're really sorry. And what's cool about Namir is not that we took it out. It's purposely his penis is not there. He probably removes it before combat or something like that. Yeah.
While talking about removing things, Namir went through a lot of changes as well. We used to have him like jump on the on the sides of the room. There are big pillars, and he was supposed to jump from one to the other with a sniper rifle and shoot the laser rifle, I think, and shoot you with it. I could never get it to work properly. It was very confusing, and the player could not actually understand what was going on. So we decided to actually have him run around faster, cloak, and jump over the railings. Well, it's not railings, but so that was very interesting as well.
Also, he had kind of a nano whip, like in Johnny Mnemonic,
Yeah,
where you could grab Jensen and pull him back towards him, and with your gun, you had the gameplay to try to shoot at it so it could release you. And if not, he was doing a takedown on you.
It's exactly yeah. It was a bit of a punishment, but that was kind of cool. I think.
Yeah.
Well, it's so cool.
So yeah, here it's one of the
Sharon,
two
is that
versions of the cutscene
The
where
meeting with Megan Reed.
we meet back with
Adam?
Megan Reid. It depends
Oh my
if you
God,
went for
Adam.
the chip recall or not, so it plays out a little bit differently.
You're hurt.
But that was a
What
very,
happened?
very difficult cutscene to make because it was at that point with all the twists or the
It's not what you
intrigues
think.
of the game, of the story
No.
were coming
No,
together, and
Adam,
now
I
we were
swear it.
going into
The kidnapping
the
was
final
real. The attack on
stage
Philip
of
Industries, they came
closing
Yeah.
the story. And
When you're dealing with the story, it's like everything is coming to a head, and there's a lot of information that is coming together at this point.
I wanted to
And
tell
when we were first
but I
working out the
couldn't.
story
I
and
couldn't.
working out the blueprint, I
And
was
then
kept
David said
saying,
we had to
guys,
use
there's
it.
too
We
much
owed it to
information. There's
mankind.
too many story beats that are being revealed in
you
this
talking
scene.
about?
We're revealing the truth about Meg, and we're
great
revealing the truth
discovery.
about Adam's
The
DNA
genetic
and
framework
how
I
it's been
found
used,
makes it
and
easier
we're
for
ultimately
living tissue to
revealing
bond with implants.
who the true villain is in this piece. And
you,
it's an
Adam.
awful lot of to communicate, and I just felt like we need to separate it. We need to have gameplay that
And-
separates those points.
and I remember you
But
were the
David
one
convinced
pushing
me
for
what
it
could mean
quite a
for
lot.
mankind. How
And
much better
I
off we could all be.
I
It's
still
refused
wanted
make
you
see how
to
wrong
pull
I
this
was.
off because
Darren.
now we were to
He owns
invent
this
gameplay
facility.
that
After New Year
didn't
brought us
necessarily
here.
exist or we didn't plan for anything,
me to
and
Sarah.
it would have
Adam, please.
forced us to
You're the
do
only
filler
one
stuff
sending to
just
work with Young and the others.
to
We
pace
found out what they were
the
planning to
information a
do
little
and
bit more.
told them.
Yeah, so it was something. I mean, I have to admit, I was raising my objections from day one. I was raising it in story meetings. I was raising it in blueprint meetings. But ultimately, what was coming down was, no, we have to get it all told in this because we can't stretch the maps. We can't stretch the gameplay.
So from a creative standpoint, you were totally right. That was the wrong approach. But as we had to cut many maps, and as we had to really close the deal with some of the game aspects and everything, it was the right call to make from a very, I would say, rational standpoint.
And actually, it was good we did it that early because most likely would have had to cut all that gameplay that I thought was needed anyway, and then I would have had to rework the story. But at least this point, I knew up front we got to make the scene work somehow.
Anyone
We
with
have
new
to make it
biochip
work,
will be
and we did
affected.
what we could.
You never said anything about this.
I'm going back for the scientists.
No, Adam. I know the complex better than you. I'll find them. There's a hangar bay through there. Get to its control room and retract the route. Clear a path for us.
So here we're in what we call the White Room. In the game, this was a pretty tricky room to nail down for different reasons because this represents really well when you want to do something that people have a really hard time envisioning in their heads, where you're like, I want this room white. They're like, okay, you want the walls white? No, I want everything white, as if someone walked in with a paint gun and just like sprayed white over everything. And people just were really reluctant to do it, if you remember, Jeff.
Yeah,
and we were
yeah.
really pressing on like, no,
Because people were saying that it wouldn't look good.
Yeah, a lot of people said it wouldn't look good, and we had to use a few little tricks, like tech tricks that we weren't using in the game at all. And basically, we were just like, we want it, just like figure a way to do it, and it ended up working out really, really well.
This room is gorgeous.
This room is gorgeous. It worked really well with marketing as well as a publicity for the game. And what's a little funny anecdote. One of the marketing artists, when he was like working, on classifying all the screenshots for marketing, he comes up to me and he shows me this room, that the screenshot of that room that I had taken, and he's like, "This room is obviously not finished. There's no textures. All I see is the normal maps." And I'm like, "No, this is it. It's textures." Like, no, I'm like, yeah. If you look at the leather, you can see there's leather texture. If you look everything, the tile look like ceramic, whatever. It's just that all is white. And he's like, okay, when he's giving me this weird look, goes back to his desk, and I get this little messenger message, and he's like, but seriously, the textures are not there. Like, you thought I was joking, and I'm like, no, this is it.
This is the room.
So this is what the game is in a lot of ways, is just making these weird things that had never been done before.
And what is fun about this room actually really break the pace in the game because, as John covered it very often, we try to be as original as possible, but still we try to stay grounded in this kind of alternate reality. But with this room, we really went the extra mile to really break the expectations and bring it beyond what a player could expect. And definitely it's the kind of room that will stick in your head for a long time.